very beginning of shapes. Kind of like if we were talking about the beginning of reading books. In reading, there are two big categories that a book can be. They can be fiction, or they can be nonfiction. And pretty much every book ever is one of those two things. Shapes work a very similar way. They are either a polygon or not a polygon. We don't have a really good word for that. We might say irregular, which just means not regular, or a polygon. So raise your hand if you have heard of the word polygon before. I'm not saying you know what it means, but you've heard of that. Polygon is a really, really old word, and a lot of our old words can be broken down, and chunks of that word actually mean something. Right? Have you ever heard of a triangle?
Yeah.
We're going to talk about that today. Tri actually means three, like a tricycle. Have you seen a tricycle? How many wheels are on a tricycle? 3. Weird. A lot of our shapes have chunks that do mean something, because a lot of our shapes, please stop talking over me, their names are Latin or Greek, which is another language, and that's how they created the names of these shapes, since they said, well, triangle has 3 sides, we should probably include that little word for 3. We have these too, right? If we're talking about re in our spelling chunk, that means to do it again, right? Like redo, do it again. You see what I'm saying? So we have these chunks in our English language, and they're really popular in our shape math language. So the first chunk we're going to look at for polygon, because we need to figure out what is a polygon before we can figure out what a polygon isn't. Poly just means many. So the word poly, I'm not 100% sure if it's Greek or Latin, but that prefix, that chunk, please sit up, means many. I'm writing, therefore you are writing. Gon comes from gonia, which I'm pretty sure it's Greek. If not, it's Latin. That means angles. Hey, I know what angles are. And I know what many means. A polygon is a shape that has many angles. You really can't have just one. It's just like this weird mouth-looking thing. So the rules of a polygon, we've talked about that geometry name for rule. Does anyone remember what a geometry name for rule? It starts with an A. Aiden, do you remember?
I have a little adjective. I can't say it.
Attribute. Attribute. So the attributes, or the rules of a polygon, is it must be a closed. I'm going to use the word figure. Figure just means shape. Enclosed means it has no holes. So when I make a square or a rectangle, there's no spaces in between. My shape connects all the way around. A shape that would have holes would be like a swirly, like this. There's a big hole in the middle of my shape, right here. That's a problem. So a polygon cannot have any holes. It has to connect back. The other big rule for a polygon is it has to have straight sides. So again, my rectangle or my square, whatever I drew, has straight sides. So that's a polygon. We're good. A shape that does not have straight sides, that I know you're very familiar with, It's closed, there's no holes, but we have those curved edges, so that's not going to be a polygon. Now, a polygon can have as many sides as you want. It could have 200 sides. Could be crazy shapes like this. Whoop, I started curving. No curves. Curve, curve.
There's a curve there.
Well, pretend like my lines are straight. If I have straight sides,
Or it could be a letter.
that would be a polygon. Crazy shape. As long as it has straight sides and no holes. So these are two options for really all shapes. You're either a polygon, or you're one of these crazy shapes, and you're not a polygon. Aiden?
Or one foot.
Kind of. You can't really use a heart to measure angles because we have these curved sides. There's one point that we would measure an angle, but these get a little funky. Yep.
I figured out that there's only one angle
Sure.
in each non-polygon.
Yep.
Like with the heart, there's only one angle.
Sure.
And with that swirly thing, there's no angle.
Yeah.
So it has to not be a polygon. It has to have one angle or no.
Exactly.
To be a polygon, it has to have two or more.
Underneath our definition, I want you to make a mini T-chart. And I want you to draw a couple examples of polygons. So obviously a rectangle would be a polygon. Even this crazy shape would be a polygon. That would work. Yes. Oh, yeah. And then we've talked about crazy shapes like this. Even though it's closed, not a polygon. Swirlies, not polygons. They have that hole in them. So just write a couple examples that are polygons and examples that are not polygons in your notebook. Shoot for 2, 3, 4. What's up, Kylie? What we're going to be talking about today is a lot of names of shapes that we've heard about that have helper words. For these, I recommend, Gio, please stop talking over me. I recommend just a subtitle. You don't have to make a new page for each one. Okay? Alright, the first one that we're going to start with is the smallest number of sides a shape needs. And that's going to be our triangle. So subtitle, triangle. Tri, T-R-I, we've talked about, means 3. And there are other words that you know that will use this trick. We talked about a tricycle. We'll use that trick because it literally has 3 wheels. Angle, we do know what angles are, right? Angle literally just means angle. 3 angles. I mean, sure, but what does that mean? Angles. Ashlyn?
Well, like tried and they made it like with 3 letters. 3.
I don't know. Maybe. Lainey?
Everything that has 3 sides or anything have tri in it.
I don't know if I would say everything, but lots of things that have 3, especially if it's an older word or a word from another country, is probably going to have tri in it. So, underneath this, let's draw some examples. Triangles are polygons, which means they also have to have straight sides and no holes. And now we have an added rule of 3 sides. So I might draw a triangle. It looks like this. I might draw a triangle that looks like this. Hey, those are very different shapes. Yeah, they are. Those are different. What about this one? How in the world? I have three very different pictures, but yet they're all called triangles. How does that happen? Aiden, how does that happen? It is very similar to the commutative property. Great math connection. It does not matter if I could have all the horses and lift up a hunter. If I turn him sideways, is he still a hunter? Yes. If I turn him upside down, is he still a hunter? Yes. If I could stretch him out, is he still a hunter? Yes. If I could shrink ray him into teeny, teeny, tiny hunter, is he still a hunter? Yes. The same is going to be true with our shapes. As long as the rules are followed, it doesn't really matter what it looks like. So as long as my shape has no holes, straight sides, and three sides, three angles, it is a triangle, whether it's this kind of triangle, this kind of triangle, or this kind of triangle. Make sure you have 3 examples in your notebook. Quadrilateral. I want you to put a frame around a quadrilateral because 3rd grade focuses a lot in the quadrilateral world. There are lots and lots and lots of different versions of quadrilaterals, and this is where we will spend a lot of our time. We do know about triangles, Nick Heisman. We do know about some of these other shapes, but we are going to spend a lot of our time living in the quadrilateral world. Okay? The word or the prefix quad means 4. A muscle that we're going to talk about actually probably later today and next week is your quadriceps. A lot of people just shorten to your quads. That is this muscle right here. Guess how many parts are in your quadriceps? 4. Because they use that chunk quad. Yes, Kylie?
So, if quad means 4, then a square and rectangle is a quadrilateral?
Yes!
Good type.
Say it again for the friends in the back, because that was an awesome connection.
So, if quad means 4, and a square and a rectangle has 4 sides and 4 angles, then a square and rectangle is a quadrilateral.
You are so correct.
Oh,
Think of it like our library, right? There are lots of fiction books. That's a big genre. But underneath fiction, we have fantasy, we have realistic fiction, we have mystery. All of those are still fiction. They're just different versions of fiction. So Kylie, you're exactly right. Our squares, our rectangles, and really any shape you could think of that has 4 sides is a quadrilateral. Beautiful. Beautiful. So let's draw some examples. Kylie gave us square and rectangle. What about a shape like this?
Yeah, that was a rhombus. I was going to say that. It's not rhombus.
What about a shape like this?
Yeah.
Does it have any holes? No holes. Are my sides all straight? Pretend they are, because I don't draw very straight sides. Are there 4 of them? That is a quadrilateral. It is. It is a quadrilateral.
It still follows how it has 4 sides.
It follows all the rules, so it is a quadrilateral. Lily, what's up? We're now going to move on to 5. Here's our a gon, which we know. The prefix penta means 5. I can't really think of any words that you would know that uses penta, but penta does mean 5. We know gon, as always, means angles. So we're looking at things that have 5 sides and 5 angles. A good example of a pentagon would be your very basic house shape, which is that kind of box on the bottom, and then your pointy roof. Because that is going to be a 5-sided figure. Now, Hunter, does it have to look like that?
No.
As long as it has no holes, all straight sides, and no other numbers of sides except 5, you're good. So try and draw a couple of different examples of a pentagon. What's up, Kylie? Yes. Moving to 6-sided shapes. 6-sided shapes are going to be called hexagons. Hexa would be 6. Again, the gon is our angles. The most common hexagonal shape would be your beehive. When you think of bee cells, they are always in hexagons. Here's a trick to draw a hexagon. What I do is I draw 2 lines over top of each other like this. Try to get them straight. I'm not super great at the straight lines. And then you're going to make 2 almost triangles out to the side. So there is your hexagon. It's got 6 sides and 6 angles. No. It's not funny. It's not cute. You can try and create another version of a hexagon in your notebook. Just make sure straight sides, no holes, and only 6 sides total. Alright, moving from 6-sided, we're going to 7-sided. 7-sided figures is a heptagon. Heptagon. This is a 7-sided figure. I do not know a good trick to draw a 7-sided figure. Good luck. Count your sides. Again, it really does not matter as long as it's got all the rules that we've talked about so far. Shoot. Good enough. 7 sides, all straight sides, no holes. Ashley, what do you think?
Can it be like a crazy study?
As long as it follows the rules, it does not really matter what the shape is. So yes. Lily, please stop talking. Kyla, please stop talking. Ashlyn asked a great question. She said, can it be kind of like a crazy looking shape? That's fine. As long as it follows the rules. Bryce and chair. What?
I just drew a weird 7-sided shape.
So you drew a heptagon. Alright, next from heptagon we have an 8-sided shape. We know this prefix. We've talked about this before. That's going to be our octagon. We talked about how oct is in other words that we know, like an octopus has 8 tentacles. I do have a trick for an octagon. It's very similar to my hexagon trick. You're going to do your top and bottom. You're also going to do the same thing on your sides. So now I have, kind of looks like a weird rectangle.
But it can't have holes.
Yep, I'm not done. That's only 4 sides. Now I'm going to connect.
Like I said.
There's my 8-sided octagon. Again, most of us think of an image of a stop sign as being an octagon, but any shape that has 8 sides, no holes, all straight sides, is an octagon. Even a crazy shape that you've made up, still an octagon. Next up is our 9-sided shapes, called a nonagon. Guys, please stop talking. Same deal with our other shapes that we've learned so far. The way I kind of remember this one is it kind of reminds me of 9. Right? Non kind of sounds like a weird way to say 9. Good luck drawing your 9-sided shapes. Count your sides carefully. A decagon. Now, this one we have heard of because you have heard of decimals.
Yeah.
Decimals are arranged in groups of 10. So we have our ones, our tens, our hundreds, kind of like our base 10 system, where we count in tens, groups of tens.
No, base 7 or base 10.
Base 10. So deca would be 10. On would be angles. Good luck. I'm sure, as you've noticed, unless you do some kind of crazy shape, your shapes start looking more and more like circles. If you keep adding angles and sides, eventually we kind of get to this almost circular shape.
It's too much right here.
So again, all of this language can be found in other words, but this is where it shows up in our geometry. This is our math language. Once you have tried your hand at a decagon, leave your math notebook open and come join me on the carpet. We're going to go over our next math choice board.